And here we go. Are we... Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and this is Movie Crap Live. I'm starting a little early for everyone. I should have gone to warning a couple minutes early, but in some ways a couple minutes late because I said the show would start later. But it's not. Just doing it, I guess. Here we go. Oh, there's me. Where am I going to talk? Am I going to say... Hey! Oh, hey, El Mono Loco, Austin. Hold on, let me send out the tweet. Pin, just so people know. Okay, I just want people to know. Okay, anyway, sorry. Cornbread, Twisted Razor, Kit the Mystical, Purple Goop, Elwood DD, AS Super Drive Minion, Austin, again, and Black Sea Oxymical, and Kit the Mystical. It's very nice to be here. It's a cool Saturday night, doing it right on... Hey, it's Ryan Walterson, Jordan Salafalo, Nathaniel Foga. Yes, I'm doing Big Cat. I like that. Major Mekazawa, everybody. Yeah, I thought it was going to be a little later, but I realized, hey, we're ready to go. So let's do it. Oh, Goof Rants. I don't know Goof Rants. Do I know Goof Rants? And Rocket Loanbacks. I think that's, sorry. And Code Neosporin, Rebuild, Discount Viscount, Sleepy Time, 4Cat Productions, Dex Dernherder. So what's up? The sky, the roof, your ceiling, a fan? That's a nice dad joke. Sunspot Mill. Buster's already next to me here. How are you doing, Buster? Buster's happy. All right, maybe I should... Oh, Ace the Windrider is here. We're going to have Ace the Windrider's art during the break, by the way. I'm actually doing it. Daniel Morales, I think. Sorry, I can't say anything. I can barely say my own name, unfortunately. But let me... Oh, Bloxy getting the first super chat. Okay, right when I was... Whoop. Loving that fade. There we go. All right, switch to... Okay. Bloxy said, been a heck of a week, capped off by someone trying to take my bag from the gym and me finding it hidden in the stall because I walked in on them. Wow. That sucks. I'm sorry. Well, I mean, I'm glad you found it. That seems to have worked out, Bloxy. So, but I'm sorry. That's a crazy week. Cheers to Bloxy. Everybody cheers to Bloxy because that sounds... That stinks. I'm sorry. But I'm glad it sort of worked out. I'm sorry people did that, though. But cheers to you, Bloxy. Cheers to you. Hey. Transinfo wants to Red Bull along with me. If anyone wants to, you're more than happy to. TuneJ723, how's it going? And El Mono Loco. Did I say hi already? I'm not sure. Anyway. Yes, what a week it's been. We finally have a new president. I mean, we've had it, well, he was elected, but now we actually have a new president. That was very kind of relieving. I feel a lot more relieved than I thought I would. I was thinking about that today. The first day, it's like, wow, this is happening. Joe Biden's president. Now I'm just sort of like, feel a little easier about everything. So that's just nice. It was a nice inauguration. It was nice watching it with the family, seeing Joe Biden and Kamala Harris sworn in. We'll wait and see what's going to happen. Not that anyone shouldn't be critical of them or anything, but I think we're all just like happy this is over. I think and I also think after that we all are starting to deal with the real things of the coronavirus still going on, which I think we'll have to talk about during the show because of all the movie delays and all that. Yeah, there were quite a lot of them. Nothing too big, I think. Oh, I have the, hold on. Let me sure. Oh, hey, Page Hard. I have the cowboy hat. So, there we go. I don't think Marley's here, but if he comes back, just be like, he wore it in the stream. So, yeehaw. I guess if you want me to super chat, where I think this is old. This is from the Oklahoma Kid review, one of my first reviews, which actually, like, classic cinephile movie people really liked, even though I remember, like, all of them are like, I like that one, though. Even it's not very popular, but friends at the time were like Matt Berry, like, a couple of blogs would repost it a couple of years after, like, I know he did a pretty good job on this. But I don't have any of those links, but I remember it at the time, and I was like, wow, I was surprised. Oklahoma Kid. Let's see. Oh, I have this King Kong here. That's pretty cool. It's actually from the stop motion Godzilla cartoons that everyone's seen that are really cool. That's where this guy's from. I got him because of my wife, which is really cool Christmas present. And so if you see this guy, and I haven't found the cartoons he's in, but apparently he was, and now he lives here, which is neat. And he's so cool, and he's got fist. He can do like that. He doesn't read very well because of the black, so but he can move his little fist. Anyway, he's cool. I'm not the biggest. We rewatched King Kong recently. I don't know if I'm the biggest King Kong fan, but I do like this King Kong. I like the first one. What's wrong with the first one? The first one's fine. It's just the racism thing, not so great. But it's a good adventure film. I think you sort of gotta. You have to have seen it. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's not as an adventure film. It's fine, but anyway, we got into that last week. We need to do that again. Trying to think anything else. The Ace the Windrider, you should maybe one Flicks Friday just show off your Godzilla stuff. Don't ask me questions. Ace the Windrider Flicks Friday every Friday. Ask me movie questions and I answer them on Twitter. It's fun. Before I move on, what was the other thing? Oh, if you didn't see my video on the Warrior King crossover, even though I don't think that was the most popular thing, I just really wanted to make that really special just because no one really remembered it. And Blartachino when? Oh, I do have Paul Blart news, Black Sea. I do have some Paul Blart news tonight. But you should put Blartachino. You should do that. That would be cool. Anyway, cheers to you, Black Sea, again. Adrian, I have reviewed Freddy Got Fingered. Hey, Catbot. Oh yeah, so the Warrior King thing, it's different because I never just flat out describe a cartoon like Saber or Pan does, and that I sort of do. I don't know if I'd do that again with a 90s cartoon. I sort of wish I had done it for the Red Planet cartoon. So it was a little different. It took longer than I expected because I wanted to have Promising Young Woman this week, but I think that'll be next week. But I am really proud of that Warrior King video. I think it'll be cool for people, who find it later and stuff like that. It wasn't the biggest performer, but I'm sort of glad I did it. It kind of pushed me artistically to do something I never thought I would, I would do. Well, the orbs on, what was it? What was that planet? Wherever it is, the Oasis. That's where it is. Hey, Nina Garcia. But I'm really proud of it. I think it's a cool video. It's sort of random, but it was kind of like the only thing I could do with USA. And thanks to Ryan Walterson for helping me do that one. I think that was really cool. Anyway, yeah. So let's just, before we get into it, I guess let's go through the, what? Keanu Reeves sitting on a bunch of meme kind of bugs me because he was asked why he was sad. Oh, yeah, that's true. I need to do Johnny Mnemonic this year actually because it's set in 2021 and I've never seen it and I've wanted to see it since the 90s. So I think I'm going to do that this year. Anyway, yeah. Oh, now I remember. I got new, and this will be in the. Okay. Yeah. So, this and pretty much everything I do is mostly supported by you, the fans, either through Patreon, which there is a link below in the description, or through Super Chats during the show. The Patreon has all sorts of cool stuff in it. It has Skype calls, postcards. You get more power in the movie review vote, which is actually happening on Monday, as well as okay, Buster, it's okay. As Skype calls, movie review, all that, as well as my commentary series. I just put out another Knock Horse commentary this past week. There'll be another one next week, and maybe a Cleese the Fetus one. I just do commentaries on my past work, all sorts of cool stuff that you can check out there, as well as super chats during the show where I will drink a Red Bull to you and answer your question or whatever before the the question and answer part. And it's a great way to support the show and keep things going if you're financially able to do so. I very much appreciate it. If not, just a like or a subscribe, or if you're just watching and chilling out, that's cool too. Thank you very much for your support of any kind. It is very appreciated. And I really do. I think it's really nice value. Oh, thank you, Bloxy. That's very nice of you. Also, there is the Discord. If you go to the description, you can join my Discord server. Everyone who is involved in the chat is there. It's run by Austin and Zane Powers. They do a great job. It has all sorts of channels like Ask Jim, where I try to answer all the questions. I got almost everyone today. I saw there was a few more before the show. I'll get to those later. And we have all sorts of cool channels, general, where and I post things like, hey, what do you guys want me to talk about during the show, or for Movie Crap Alive? There's and then I'll post the shorts I'm going to do a little early, and all sorts of cool features, just a little more interactive, and you can interact with people who like these videos as well. So you definitely should. And there's the novelty card channel, and I have new cards, which are these cool Godzilla cards, which I actually thought were just the same image over and over again, and they are not. They're like all these different like kaiju poster things, and I'm really happy about it. So I really thought it was like kind of crappy, and I opened them and I was pleasantly very surprised. It was really cool. So I was happy. So there will be a picture in the novelty card chat channel. Watch out. I know people actually get excited for that, which is funny. I've explained to people that is really on my Discord server, and people that know me, I don't think believe it, but you guys know that is a real channel, and I will post a picture sometime this week. So sorry. I wanted to announce on here. Really, the big drops aren't my videos. It's the novelty card chat, But I will say these Star Wars cards, I really actually like those. Those were great. I might rebuy those. Those are the first cards I might rebuy, because that was like the coolest one. Because the Marvel Star Wars comics are actually really cool, and everyone forgets them. That would be a cool animated series for Disney Plus, is just animate all the Marvel Star Wars comics, but don't, obviously the movie adaptations, don't do those, but just do the other ones. I think that would be really cool, actually. But anyway, there is no such channel as the novelty card channel. What do you mean? What's it called? I'm still confused. Anyway, still not over the Cowboys vs. Aliens cards. I am still not over those either, to be honest with you. Yeah, I think that's all the things. Oh, and two other things. I'm going to be doing a what to watch or streaming recommendations segment once a month. I'm going to have a guest. Obviously, Sinram had to be the first guest. I think that is deserved. He will probably be a reoccurring guest. I'll probably have a different one in February, but it won't be like Netflix, Tubi. I'll do reviews of streaming services sometimes, but it'll just be like recommendations on all of streaming, basically. So maybe from Netflix, YouTube, Tubi, Pluto, whatever we're into, that's what we'll talk about, just to like streamline it a little, because I was just feeling like some of the bigger ones were getting a little shitty. I just didn't feel like I was really bringing it as much, so I wanted to make it a little more interesting. Basically, it's my fault, not the guest's fault at all. Actually, I thought they were all really good, but I wanted to make it, spice it up a little. And I think what I'm going to do with the shows, because I wasn't sure about doing reviews of episodes with The Mandalorian, continuing that, and I didn't. And I think what I'm going to do is just do reviews of each of the episodes. Those will go out on a Sunday, and then I might edit them all together as a compilation later. Or that's what I'm thinking. We'll see about that. Anyway, Dave Flicks. Oh, I forgot about Dave Flicks. All right. Okay. So, what is the first story? So, I don't normally do We Got This Covered. I want to say that right now. I don't normally do these guys, because if there's anyone who's got this covered, it is literally not them. I do not know why they call them that, because like maybe it's a joke, I don't know, but they're saying, and a couple other people, and there's this guy who's like Big Bang Theory 33 whatever, who always comments on my community posts, especially about Movie Crap Live, and he told me about this, so I looked it up. So thank you to him or her. I don't actually know, I'm assuming, but apparently there is a third Paul Blart Mall Cop in early development. I know everyone do what's a good thing in the chat? Like a W or some, I don't know. Anyway, yes, there is apparently, and I looked it up, a couple places are saying there is a third Paul Blart Mall Cop movie in development. If Paul Blart movies are based on Die Hard, and Die Hard with a Vengeance is everyone's like second favorite Die Hard movie for the most part, then Paul Blart Mall Cop 3 will be better than 2 under that theory, if they do that. I don't know. But yeah, I know Bloxy's excited. But should we do W's in the chat for when? Is that, I don't know if that's internet etiquette. But yeah, it's the only time I'll do We Got This Covered, just because if it's Paul Blart news, it's okay, because everyone seems to like Paul Blart news. I don't get it, but I sort of do. I mean, who doesn't like Paul Blart? I don't, except for someone. Didn't like Rex Reed hate it? No. He just decided to hate Melissa McCarthy. Oh, that's depressing. Anyway, but that's all we know, is that it's an early development. We literally know nothing. I wouldn't be surprised if Netflix does it, because that thing did very well on demand at the time. So I could see them wanting to have that on a streaming service. That would make sense. I'm literally just making stuff up. So to me, this was the biggest movie news, because there's an inauguration, let me say that, of the week. And that was that the Muppet Show, all 5 seasons of the Muppet Show, and if Ryan's in the chat, I don't know, say a Muppet in the show, maybe I should stop saying this, but all 5 seasons of the Muppet Show will be on Disney Plus on February 19th. This is the first time, I think it's the first time the show has streamed, is the first time all 5 seasons have really been available, probably since the 90s, to a mainstream audience, which is ridiculous to me. I grew up with the Muppet Show on TNT and various places, but it kind of went away towards the mid to late 90s. You couldn't really watch it. You'd have DVDs and stuff like that. But I don't know. I'm just so excited for this. I'm excited to watch it with Sophie. I'm excited to rewatch it myself. I might do a review of just the first episode on the stream or something that week. I don't know. I'm so down for this. It is just amazing. I'm surprised they figured out the music rights. I've read some people being a little freaked out that they sort of didn't actually get everything, that they somehow screwed it up or something. They didn't they didn't say anything like that. It seemed to me it's coming. They figured out all the rights. We were doing all 5 seasons. To me, it sounds like they did it. I have no reason to disprove that. So, and there's no evidence to, but I think people are just so in disbelief that this is happening that I think there is that. But we will see. I'm sure everyone's going to watch through them all. I'm sure Ryan will be able to find out instantly by osmosis when it comes out. But it's pretty cool. I think it's amazing. It's obviously a great time to be a Jim Henson fan, because there's so much Muppet and Fraggle Rock, which is actually going to be shooting in Calgary, Canada this week. Actually, is going to start shooting the new reboot. But the Muppet Show, all 5 seasons will be on Disney Plus that day. It's really exciting. It's really amazing, just because it's almost like, and I'm not really joking about this, I'm not trying to be overly dramatic. It's almost like it was been lost media for, let's see, the late 90s, which is probably how a lot of you were probably born around then, till now. It's sort of not been that available other than through DVDs and things. So I just think this is flat out amazing. I'm just so excited to have the Muppet Show. This is just going to be awesome. So yeah, I think it's really cool that Disney figured this out. I hope they treat the Muppets better going forward. I didn't think Muppets Now was that bad, but I know Bob Chapek is an actual Muppets fan. Apparently Bob Iger wasn't, which sort of makes sense when you look at how they were treated and stuff like that. But Bob Chapek does want to do more with the Muppets. And now that he's running Disney, that is very optimistic. It just feels like it's going to be a better period for the Muppets at Disney. That's I don't know, it's going to be cool. If you've never watched The Muppet Show, that's pretty much why a lot of people that's how people fell in love with the Muppets. So if you're not into them, I suggest checking it out. I'm sure people can tell you what's the best one to start with. I'm sure most people are going to watch the Star Wars episode because duh. But which that's a great one. That is a very good one. But check it out. It's really cool. I mean, that's where Menomina came from. I mean, what's wrong with Menomina? Bob Iger, Toon J723. It's a little complicated, but Bob Chapek sort of does. They kind of, he came back to help out during the pandemic, basically. But Iger's sort of not in as much control as he once was. It's mainly Chapek. If Chapek wants to champion something, they will let him, basically. But I think there's going to be a huge interest in the Muppet Show when this happens. Like I said, the Fraggle Rock reboot is going to be start shooting in Canada this week, so that is going to start as well. So that's really cool. As well as Freaks and Geeks is going to Hulu with the original soundtrack. I had the DVDs. To my understanding, it was the original soundtrack. But if you've never seen Freaks and Geeks, it is a really great show. It's one of my favorite shows growing up. I absolutely loved it, adored it. I haven't watched it in forever, so maybe I'll check it out again. But if you've never checked out Freaks and Geeks and you have Hulu, now is the time. It is one season. It is absolutely great. And you get, it must be weirder to watch now, because when I watched it, James Franco and Seth Rogen and all these guys weren't famous, but now all those people were. So actually, if you've never seen it before and watching it now, I'd love to actually learn what that perspective's like, because that that would be weird, because when I saw it, none of them were famous at all, really. I don't think, right? It's like, to me, it was like this cool kid show, and then Joel Hodgson was on it, and Trace Beaulieu was on it, and that's what I liked about it. That's still what I like about it. It's really just like the Trace Beaulieu, Joel Hodgson show with like some other people. If they're ever on a show, that's the way it is for me. But yeah, those are some pretty cool streaming things. That's one of the things I like about streaming. Sorry about that. That's one of the things I like about streaming is suddenly they can reevaluate or pay for a restoration. Basically, we saw this with the Other Side of the Wind, the Orson Welles thing, stuff like that, because they know stuff that gets articles written about and a lot of attention on social media and stuff is good for a streaming service. So these sort of like big announcement things are almost like paying for a new show, basically, and you get all those, return on investment, things like that. I'm anyway, very excited. Oh yeah, Undeclared. I never got as into Undeclared. It just wasn't my. I didn't actually watch it when it was. I don't think I sort of knew it was on, but I don't think no one on the internet really talked about that one as much until afterwards, to my understanding. But I really only heard of it like once, so I wasn't clued that in on it. So Zack Snyder, after the show last week, basically, not that he was watching the show. If he is, hi Zach, how's it going? I'd appreciate super chat, Zack Snyder. I'll e-big for Zack Snyder's millions, I guess. Zack Snyder has said that the Justice League is not going to be in 4 parts. It is going to be a 4-hour movie, which is wow. Or many people are not sure if he's insinuating you should watch this all in one sitting, which sounds horrible. But no one's sure because Warner Media didn't clarify. So basically, there's a real potential, I guess, maybe, that there's going to be a 4-hour Justice League of the Zack Snyder cut, or the Snyder cut of Justice League. So if you really wanted this to be over, it's going to be excruciating to get through. I don't really understand how this thing keeps going. Ugh, I don't know how is this much footage. Like, what were they shooting? It's just so confusing. I really don't know the use of this, but HBO Max, go for it, I guess. Yeah, and so Embla says The Irishman of HBO Max. It's actually only 30 minutes longer than The Irishman. So anyone who complained about The Irishman, this will be worse. Need some water. Here's a 4-hour cut of Wolf of Wall Street. I don't think that can't be real. That's got to be an assembly edit. I'll have to look into that later. All right, so the big streaming news for most animation and for most people was that the Mitchells vs. the Machines is going to Netflix. It was originally called The Mitchells vs. the Machines, then it became Connected, and then we heard about this sale to Netflix, and then went back to The Mitchells vs. the Machines. Zane Powers. Hi, it's me, Zack Snyder. Ignore my name. I am a master identity thief. I hope you're all excited to see The Martian is my masterpiece cut. You better be. That was good, Zack Snyder. Cheers to you. Or Zane Powers. If anyone wants to pretend to be Zack Snyder, that is fine. That was funny. Anyway. Mayreed Molisco. Hold on. This is a good point. I will bring this up. The Mitchells vs. the Machines is going to Netflix. We don't have an actual date other than it will be this year. This seems to be Sony sort of selling off assets to Netflix. I know that Paleo was asking, are they just going to keep selling things to Netflix? Sony is in a really good position, actually, more so than people realize, because they have almost refused to make a streaming service, so they can basically sell to any streaming service they want, and that's what they're basically doing. I think because they are seeing what's happening to the theatrical year, which we will get to a little later, they realized they had to get rid of the Mitchells vs. the Machines, because there's potential, like, who knows if the theatrical market will be there whenever everyone's vaccinated, which doesn't seem like it's going to happen. Someone brought up, Mayreed Malesco, I think that's how you say it, said Mike Renata is the actual real director. Apologies to him. I think because Lord and Miller are more of a name and people trust them, even if they do stuff that, like what we had with Spider-Verse. Everybody sort of gave them credit for Spider-Verse, even though they didn't direct it. But apparently they're very involved producers. Who knows the whole deal with that? But I would like to know a date. It's exciting that Netflix has it. I kind of assumed, and it's Maraid. Oh, sorry about that. That because there's already a movie on Netflix called Connected, that's probably why they changed it. Who knows? That's just a guess. But I'm curious I think this is also because Netflix wants as much streaming content, particularly with animation. That is a big thing for them right now. And it seems like a lot of places are pumping up their animation slates right now because they know they can do that. They know with the slowdown in production, there hasn't been as much of a slowdown in animation. There is a slowdown. There isn't this like magical thing where like animations just coming out of the woodworks because people can't work together. They're working separately. There has been admissions that doesn't work fully, but I know Netflix is particularly committed to making more animated content and getting a Lord and Miller animated film that they can promote better, that they could win an Oscar with. I think it's works out for Netflix very much, and it'll probably be really cool. So yeah, I'm excited. We'll get to see it. Now, two other things with Netflix, and then we're going to get to I think it's right after this, we're going to get to all the delays things and the whole deal with that. Netflix now has 200 million subscribers. They added 37 million in 2020, which compared to like all the others isn't as insane, but also consider that a lot of people are signing up for these other things, already have Netflix. So it is pretty amazing that they've gotten to that level. They're obviously the big behemoth. I don't think even Amazon, no one's sure the amount because Amazon can inflate those numbers for obvious reasons, and they just don't have the streaming numbers to anyone's mind. But I think Disney Plus isn't at 100 million. So that's how much they're dominating basically at this point. It is interesting when we hear like 90 million people watch an Extraction. At the time Extraction happened, they had like 170, 180, something like that. And that's only like half are watching Extraction. But I think that shows you, there's a diverse amount of content on Netflix and not everyone's going to watch Extraction. And not that 90 million people should have. That wasn't a great movie. But the other thing with Netflix is the Nielsen top Streaming numbers, I'm going to try to talk about these because it's not like we can talk about box office. And these are sort of interesting. One thing that's interesting, now this is for the week of December 21st to the 27th. Wonder Woman 1984 is not in the top 10. And you're thinking, oh, is it a failure? No, that's not. And I've seen that take some places. No, it's actually because HBO Max does not submit streaming numbers, which is not a big vote of confidence, I would think. I'm a little surprised. But yeah, that's bizarre that they don't, I think, but maybe they know they won't be able to complete with Disney Plus or Netflix. But on this, most of this is just Netflix completely. However, Soul had number one. Now it's minutes viewed, which is I hate when they say like however many hours, like when I do the show, it says like 30 hours were viewed, but it's like I was not here for 30 hours, so I don't really understand. Like, I don't really like that way people measure things, but Soul was number one with 1.67 billion minutes viewed, which is pretty crazy that Disney Plus was able to be number one versus Netflix, and number two with 1.44 was The Office, which at the time was still on Netflix. Bridgerton was number three. Midnight, and here's an interesting one. Number four was The Midnight Sky, which did better than number five, which was The Mandalorian. Now, I forget when the last Mandalorian was, but I think it had basically teetered off at that point. But it's crazy that a show as big as The Mandalorian, with as much social media buzz, didn't do as well, as The Midnight Sky, a George Clooney movie I heard very little talk about. So it shows you kind of the differences in that, as well as Criminal Minds and Grey's Anatomy were in the top 10, and the Christmas Chronicles Part 2 was at number 9, which also shows you how popular the Christmas content is for Netflix, because that movie had been out for a little bit, but I know a lot of kids rewatched the Christmas Chronicles, as Sophie did, as well as How the Grinch Stole Christmas on Netflix, which was at number 6, which was, I think, the Jim Carrey one. That's depressing. I don't like the Jim Carrey one. I would think... whatever. I wish it was the Boris Karloff one. Oh, that's my favorite. Anyway, so, Disenchantment. I've heard a lot of talk about it. I haven't really gone into that. So, what's going on with delays? Last week I kind of talked about the King Kong vs. Godzilla going to HBO Max and what that meant with versus what was going on in theaters. At the time, I was trying to be sort of optimistic. A lot of the reporting on what was happening with No Time to Die, that they were delaying the announcement, which now is clear that they wanted to miss the inauguration and everything that was going on. They might have announced it earlier if there wasn't so much crazy stuff going in the news. But not just myself, but other reporters were saying that the reason No Time to Die wasn't going to move, and that maybe vaccinations will work out. I don't really believe that anymore. I think right now, and to be very real about it, I think this summer is sort of done. I think coronavirus, unfortunately, is not going anywhere. I think August is a little more optimistic at this point, as the vaccine thing is not enough people are vaccinated. Not enough people are taking this seriously, unfortunately. Not enough people are wearing masks. So this is just going to continue. It seems like Hollywood has gotten the message and has written off at least the first 4 months of the year. Basically what we're looking at in terms of what releases need to fall to trigger more delays, much like, because the Bond delay did trigger other things. Like right when Bond did, everybody else announced their delays as well, because that was almost their triggering. Like they're like, we have this all set up. If Bond delays, clearly Focus Features did that. All things like that. So that is going to continue with other ones. But the ones to look for after No Time to Die will be the Fast and Furious, which is coming out around Memorial Day sometime. I actually didn't write down the release date of that one. But the Fast and Furious, which is not moved, which is a Universal film, as well as Top Gun Maverick, which seems to be the linchpin to everything, because that was actually reportedly Apple and Netflix offered to buy Top Gun Maverick. They're really selling it to be this big IMAX thing. They really think it's going to be a big hit. in theaters, and they really don't want to move. Like, they've been offered tons of money. They want it to open in theaters. If we see that move, I don't know what to think for the rest of the summer. One thing that I should have, Minions is also a good one, but it seems like most reporting is mentioning specifically Top Gun a lot. That seems to be their biggest thing. It seems like sort of hinted at about Fast and Furious, but we'll see. And Black Widow, I'd also be curious about. I'm really wondering if Disney, I kind of mentioned that my theory during the investors meeting, especially with Raya and the Last Dragon, is that they're just going to do premiere access for everything and not move their slate at all, which I think at this point is highly possible. So I wouldn't be surprised if we hear an announcement with Black Widow. I don't think they all like to just push a ton of announcements while anyone else is, so that might be the delay. We'll see what's going to happen. But if you think we're going to have a summer that's like, oh, this is the summer post coronavirus, I would probably look at next summer. I wouldn't look at this summer right now. I just am not optimistic about that currently. I just don't. And it seems like this summer movie, I'm not trying to be a jerk or be a bummer or something, but I think that's how we need to look at this, because I just don't think movie theaters are coming back until August. And remember, a long time ago I mentioned how the theater owners meeting in Las Vegas, Cinecon or whatever it is called now, was scheduled for August. They probably knew that this was their fate for a while. They were just sort of like playing it by ear, but this is kind of the deal. So, I'll just go through a bunch of what I know right now. I'm not going to say what the original date was, because who can remember that shit? So, like, to be quite honest, it gets a little confusing. Basically, No Time to Die announced through the official Eon stuff that it is moving to October 8th of this year, which is different for Bond. That's sort of a weirder release date, but I think they had to navigate. I don't remember what the release calendar is at this point. I used to sort of know it throughout the year, but I don't know. But that is a weirder time slot, but I'm assuming they did that to avoid whatever's coming out in November. A Quiet Place 2 has now moved to September 17th, as well as Nobody, the Bob Odenkirk thing we saw a trailer for a little bit ago, has moved back to April 2nd, which is optimistic. And then this Michael Bay's film, The Ambulance, which just sounds like they just put the date for this in this whole release date shuffle, actually is September 19th, 2022, which I think it might make at this point. I'm optimistic about that. One of the things that we haven't brought up the release date for, and I know there's other ones we want to, is the Wes Anderson film, The French Dispatch. They want it tied to the Cannes Film Festival. They very much want this thing to come out when the Cannes Film Festival can happen. When I'm talking right now, I don't think that's going to happen. Will this film keep getting pushed back? That's a possibility. Or the studio is going to be like, look, you got to put it out. You got to put it on Hulu or Star or whatever. I don't know what's going on with Wes Anderson, French Dispatch, but a lot of people have said it's sort of like almost off the calendar at this point, because no one knows what the calendar for that film will be. But Edgar Wright's film Last Night in Soho, it was announced by him himself that will come out on October 22nd. Ghostbusters Afterlife will be coming out on November 11th of this year. Uncharted, which I didn't know had a release date. I was like, Uncharted, I don't know. I don't think this movie's real. Even if this comes out, I'm not going to believe it's real. But apparently, it thinks it's coming out on February 11th, 2022. So, right before Ambulance. I mean, how is it going to hold up to the Ambulance audience? I just don't see it. You'll probably have to drive everyone who invested in it to an Ambulance, but whatever. And I think the big news we're all dreading, and I want to get a lot of F's in the chat for this. Morbius was pushed back again, you guys. I don't know. Jared Leto's big superhero movie, Morbius, which will definitely be even better than the Suicide Squad. I mean, maybe that there's a real potential. I don't know. But yeah, lots of F in the chat if you could for Morbius, which is now coming out on January 21st, 2022. I know everyone try to calm down. I'm sorry about Morbius. It's now officially a January movie. So I guess that means it's in the best place. It's in a good place now, Morbius. If I were them, I would just just put it on a shelf. Maybe no one will notice. I wonder how many movies have done that. Their studio's like, what if we just don't tell anybody? Think about it. What if we didn't? All right. Cinderella, which stars some social media person I don't really understand, is going to be out on July 16th. Peter Rabbit, which has been moved a lot during this whole thing, is coming out on June 11th. The Kingsman is now coming out August 20th. That movie's moved a lot of times. And Bob's Burgers, which was going to come out, this is the only one I'll say, was going to have a release date, was going to come out on the 9th of April, which seems weird because there's no trailer, I don't think, is now off the release calendar. Austin said, it takes longer than 30 seconds to get to Mars. Jared Leto the liar. I love that pop star joke. Thank you for that, Austin. Cheers to you. But we're not done. There were more. I really tried to search for how many things got weird release date changes and everything like that. And they did I will say, studios were kind of here's dates for things also. So it got this was one of the more confusing ones because most of them didn't go let's also announce dates while we're moving dates. So if some of these you might be confused about, but Ron's Gone Wrong, which I don't know what that is coming out from Searchlight from October 22nd. The Night Nurse is now on July 16th. The Eyes of Tammy Faye, which I don't think had a date. I think that was in limbo September 24th. Antlers, which we've been hearing about possibly going to Hulu. All these things about Antlers. It actually got a release date finally, which was October 29th. And Guillermo del Toro's Bobby, I don't know you. Nice Rand Sam film. Nightmare Alley, which is Guillermo del Toro's new film, is coming out on December 23rd, or at least currently. That was announced during this whole thing. So just to clear all that up, those are all the dates that happened. It was a big thing. What's happening with Bob's Burgers, I don't know. I think the thing with Bob's Burgers is it's potential that Disney just goes, let's put this on Hulu or Star or something like that. Or they're just there's too many things going on right now. We don't want this to get buried. We're going to you can just wait until it's time. There's something like that. I'm not sure what, should I know what? Well, I don't. Now I'm going to look up what's Ron's Gone Wrong since Ryan's shaming me on I guess I didn't work on that part clearly because I don't know what this is. Images. Okay, well, I didn't really know what that one was. Anyway, sorry about that, Ryan. The Pinocchio live action remake is not Nightmare Alley. It's a detective thing, I think. Yeah, I think it's. Well, yeah, we'll see what's happening with Bob's Burgers. What's going on with that? That was interesting that was kind of taken off the slate. It's also going to be interesting. I'm very curious what Disney's going to do because they've set up their thing. I'm very curious with the premiere access of Raya and the Last Dragon. I'm very curious what Universal's going to do because they have to figure out what they're going to do with Minions and Fast and Furious, and they're going to have to start figuring that out soon because if they want those Super Bowl spots, those big advertised spends that they usually do towards the end of January, early February, they're going to have to figure that out. So I don't see that. I do see them in the next couple weeks figuring something out. I think Bond and various other people waited until the inauguration, basically. I'm not sure their full motivations, but a lot of reporters were really not sure about Bond, and that's clearly a linchpin. So if you do hear about Fast and Furious or Black Widow, but especially Top Gun moving, I think you'll hear a lot of other announcements post those because those things really do matter. about that. But Warner's is not moving their release schedule, to my understanding. I think the only big thing we're going to get from them is maybe Dune will move. And I've heard people say Matrix 4 probably should, because we've really seen nothing from Matrix 4 right now. Ryan Walterson says Lauren Bouchard and Christian Shaw said the movie would work best in the theater because then they don't want people to think of it as just an extended episode. I agree with that. That's probably a good point. That would be more fun. So maybe they're just like, let's just hold it because it won't work as well. I hope so. We'll see. At this point, who knows? But that's the deal with that. So this past week, Dave Chappelle tested positive for COVID-19 or the coronavirus. He has been doing shows a lot, although he claims he's being safe and doing socially distant shows. I've never been to these shows, but traveling during this time is a little sketchy. Not really, in my mind, the safest thing. So I think he, it's unfortunate. I like Dave Chappelle. I hope he gets better. But it just did seem like he wasn't really, I don't think I've ever seen a picture with him wearing a mask or something like that. So I hope he's a little more responsible, takes care of himself. He could just, do his show streaming or something. I don't think he really needs to tour like he is, but maybe he wants to. He's been touring more now that Corona's come out than I've seen in a while. So I don't know. I hope he's doing better. That's unfortunate. I feel bad for him and his family as well. So Batman the Animated Series, I've heard about this for years. Even at a panel I went to in New York Comic Con forever ago, that it is coming back. The rumors that it will come back to HBO Max in some form. Now, here's my thing with this. I love Batman the Animated Series. I would actually really like 10 episodes, much like the classic episodes of Batman the Animated Series. My only thing with this is that the show never really left. There's Batman and Harley Quinn was considered part of that universe. We have the Justice League. We have so many iterations with that universe of Batman the Animated Series. It's not like with Tiny Toons or Animaniacs or Looney Tunes where you haven't had these things in forever. So this whole idea of, doing these nostalgia properties and not having, with Batman the Animated Series, I'm sure it would be great if you got the writing staff back and all that stuff. It's just like, there's not enough of a break to make this super hyped. You know what I mean? So I don't know if we'll see what happens with that, but I just don't think it's going to make as big of a deal because Kevin Conroy is always Batman. I know in some of the movies he's not, but it feels like there's Batman content with him coming out every couple of years, if not every year, including animated stuff. So I just don't see the drive for it as much for audiences because it's not like oh man, we get to see him as Batman again. But it's just like I that's my thing. I think it would be great actually. It's just like I think there's a certain logic to reboots and it's just there's not enough time unless they're like, oh, we're going to spend this amount of money or we're going to do it in this style or we're going to get Paul Dini and these certain people back, something like that. But a lot of those people also have never left. So would it be that much better? I don't know. They need something. I don't know what the thing would be to basically make it sort of worth it, you know what I mean? I don't know what that would be exactly. Just continuing it just feels like, oh, I mean, cool, but there needs to be some. I think Batman Beyond would be a better idea than Batman the Animated Series. That ended at a certain point. You could also bring Kevin Conroy back. You could do interesting stuff with Batman Beyond. I feel like there's more there. Static Shock, to me, it's like that's one of the things when you go to the DC part of HBO Max, you know what I mean? You go to that and it's like DC has so many characters, but if you go to that section, it's Batman, Superman over and over again, and it's boring. Whereas you go to the Marvel thing on Disney Plus, it's like all these superheroes. So I think one of the things DC needs to do is maybe make more Wonder Woman cartoons. Like, why isn't there a Wonder Woman cartoon to go with the movie, like a series or something like that. Why aren't you doing things with the Flash animated? Or I guess you're doing things with the Flash. Like, why don't you find characters you're not exploiting in several different properties at this point? Like, DC is tremendously bad at doing that, and it's an issue. So anyway, bring back the Batman from 2004. I've never watched that. I should probably check that out. Anyway, cheers to you, Zane Powers. So we got a first look at Luca, which is the next Pixar movie, which who knows what's going on with that. But we got a first look at it. Everything I've heard about this film, it sounds like Call Me By Your Name, but presented by Pixar. We've continued to hear that. I've continued to see that as it's gone on. The look of it looks exactly like Call Me By Your Name. It looks like a better design, a different design, which I think Pete Docter's really pushing with the studio. But to me, that's what it looks like. It looked fine. It just looks like Call Me By Your Name. So, I don't know how influenced none of the filmmakers have really talked about it or talked openly about their influences, but it's pretty easy to read into. When you Google image search Luca Pixar, Call Me By Your Name images come up. So it's everyone's thinking it. Whatever. But I mean, that's fine. I'm very curious what this is going to be like. It's interesting that that's such an influence on them. It's also sort of a very recent movie. So in terms of influences, it's not the most interesting, but whatever. So there's rumors, and Liam Neeson has said that he's in talks to make a Seth MacFarlane's Naked Gun. I'm not sure why Seth MacFarlane is tasked with remaking every comedy from the 80s. I think a Naked Gun or a parody movie with Liam Neeson could be really cool, but this sounds really boring to me, much like the Revenge of the Nerds thing Seth MacFarlane's involved in. He needs to, I know he's doing some World War II thing as well for Peacock, but he really needs to in a certain point, I respect even A Million Ways to Die in the West more than this kind of stuff, even though I never saw the movie. I know some people actually do like it, but whatever. So, CBS All Access has announced that they will become Paramount Plus on March 4th, which will be the launch of Paramount Plus with all the SpongeBob stuff and things like that. Paramount, my thing with this is, Paramount Plus sounds, much like a million other streaming services, but CBS is one of the biggest TV channels going right now. It's always probably the biggest. And instead of naming it after CBS, they're naming it after Paramount, which seemingly is not as big of a brand. So I don't really get why do a rebrand, but basically the rebrand's dumb, but the whole what they're pushing with SpongeBob and everything like that is going to come out, it's seemingly on March 4th is when they're really pushing that, have the rebrand. I'm sure we'll get Sponge Out of Water and all that stuff. So if you're waiting for that, that'll be on March 4th, whatever. So let's talk about the Wonka prequel. Now in all fairness, we've known roughly, and I'd heard about this prequel previously, but I didn't think it would happen, and I think because Warner's has been so aggressive giving it a date, which is March 17th, 2023, that also got a date this week, that they're actually going to be making this Wonka prequel. Now, it is made by Paul King, who directed the 2 Paddington films, those are great movies. I should do reviews of them at some point. Paul King, everyone I know I don't know them, sorry. Everyone I follow on Twitter who knows Paul King has said, trust him, it's going to be cool, don't worry. But this sounds real stupid to me. I just don't see it being interesting. I like what Paul King did with the Paddington films. I think he's one of the great directors of kids films going right now, probably one of the best directors of kids films right now. But this just sounds like a terrible idea. I don't exactly know what Paul King is thinking doing this, why they want him to do this, what his take is. I think we'd all be curious. But we'll see what's going on with that. I feel sort of bad for Paul King because people love the Paddington films, and coming off that, for this to be his next thing is is this going to kill his buzz? Something like that. I don't know. We have also heard, particularly from, I think Collider broke that Timothy Chalamet And what's his name? Spider-Man guy, are Tom Holland, sorry, are the two who are in contention for this role because of how expensive it is. They need sort of a bigger name. A lot of people said, I've heard and I agree with, that Timothée Chalamet sort of needs a big hit because he's not a box office name at all, and this might help him a little get closer to do that, having $100 million thing starring him. I always hear a lot of talk about Timothée Chalamet, but I agree he is not box office, so I sort of get why his agents might be pushing that. We'll see about that. Zane Powers says, any movie where they have to assure you it'll be good and totally not terrible is always a good sign. True. Cheers to you, Zane Powers. Cheers to you. Or Zack Snyder. Not sure. We'll see what's going on with this. I don't have much faith in it. It sounds to me like a terrible idea. I think they just want something to do with the Wonka thing. I mean, we don't know more about it other than like, this is how he became a crazy chocolatier person or something, but it just, I don't know, it doesn't sound interesting to me. I will say it sounds more interesting than the Tim Burton thing, which I thought was a dumb idea, but this sounds more interesting than doing another remake. So we should think of it that way. And Paul King is an interesting director. So we'll see. We'll see what's going on with all that. I think most people hated the idea of this movie. I think most people are not into this movie, you know. I don't know if Tom Holland would do it. I think, or Timothée Chalamet. I feel like it's probably not going to be either of them ultimately, but that's at least who the studio is looking at. Because that's the one thing is everyone's like, can't Hollywood be more creative? Like I've heard like Keith Stanfield. I've heard this has been in development for so long. There's other people who were considered at one point who have aged out of the role. But the problem is when you get these bigger studio things, they don't want to go have more creative casting because they're so worried about financing and box office and things. They sort of have to get boring casting choices, which stinks. Because if Paul King was better name, he could just sell it on his name, but unfortunately they can't. So because it's like sort of a weirder thing, they have to, which sort of is also another thing that makes this thing even less interesting. It's just, I think Paul King's really gonna have to work overtime to make this an interesting project, and I don't feel good about it. I'm not actually a big Willy Wonka person at all, actually. But it sounds horrible. I just don't. I don't know. Oh, I didn't know he didn't. The writer deliberately didn't watch the other version. But hasn't everyone seen that version? I don't know. I know Tim Burton went through that whole thing. What was it? A reimagining thing when he did Planet of the Apes. I don't know. I have no nostalgia for those because I was a lot older. So to me, they were just like these things I thought were lame. There were no childhood memories. I was like in college when they came out. So they were not what I think they are for everyone else. So, Ethan Hawke, this was announced before and I kept forgetting to talk about it. Ethan Hawke was announced as the villain in Moonknight, the Moonknight show, which is interesting because he, said all that stuff about Logan. One second. Logan, when he was on the Oscar press tour and stuff, for I believe the Paul Schrader film he was in. Well, I don't know why he thought that was a good idea to do that, but now he is the villain in Moonknight. As an actor, I think Ethan Hawke is actually fairly interesting. He does a lot of arty stuff. He does a lot of genre stuff. He does do a lot of like genre B stuff, like Predestination is a good example. So I could see him doing a really good job as the villain in Moonknight because he is an interesting actor. He seems sort of game for anything. And if you look at his filmography, he's able to do so. And he does a lot of like interesting junky things, which is also, by the way, hard to curate. So good for him. He rarely actually is in real junk, by the way. So I think it could be interesting. Good for him for getting that paycheck, I guess. I just wish he hadn't. Doing the whole like superhero movies are dumb and stuff, and then being in a superhero show is a bit, doesn't have the greatest look. But if he'll be in Paul Schrader movies, which I know he will, see, that's the one thing about Ethan Hawke doing this is he will use that attention, and he will be in indie movies, and he will use that money to make an indie movie. So it's like most actors, you're like, oh, I hope they still do that. And you're like, no, Ethan Hawke. So props to him. There also, I'm not sure how to say this name, unfortunately. Ryoichi Sakamoto, who's a great films composer, has revealed that he has cancer a second time. Obviously, that doesn't look good. I wish him the best. I hope he gets better. This is very sad because he's a great film composer. That I should have put that later. Sorry, but there was an interesting article in the Hollywood Reporter about multiverses and basically the idea of getting like past people, like getting Michael Keaton to be Batman again, things like that for streaming services and so forth. What I found really interesting about this article is it brought up that this kind of plethora of Star Wars and Marvel and DC, all these things, there's all this. The audiences love it. They're so excited. But there was a time in the 90s where people did that with Star Trek. And by the end of the 90s, Star Trek was not as big as it was at the beginning of the 90s, which I agree with. I was into sci-fi then, and like when Voyager came out, that was a huge pop culture moment when you had a female captain of in Star Trek. And I agree that they were like, look where that went. And people are saying, and they bring up that point in the article. I thought it was a good point to bring up because, like, where are we going to be with Star Wars in 2027 or Marvel or DC? Like, it's not, when we get inundated with all this stuff, isn't going to be as cool anymore, isn't going to be as interesting. Are people going to care as much? So, that's an interesting thing to bring up because Star Trek really, I think, what do we have? 3 Star Trek shows on concurrently at a certain point? It was Next Gen, Deep Space Nine, and Voyager on at the same time? There were at least 2 on at the same time. So, whoa, Optimus Rimjob, hello. I just joined. I apologize for being late, but can you let my son, Jeff Jr., know that it is bedtime? Jeff Jr., thank you for the super chat, Optimus Rimjob. It's very generous. Jeff Jr., it's time to go to bed. Listen to your father. It's definitely bedtime. It's like 11:28. Like, you should definitely go to bed so you're ready for an awesome job tomorrow. And have a lot of fun. And good night. Have a good night. Is that good, Optimus Rimjob? I hope so. I don't know you had a son named Jeff Jr., but cheers to both of you. Cheers to you. Thank you for the super chat. It's very generous of you. Thank you very much. Cheers to you. All right. I hope I did that well. So in news that, like, I don't think anyone needed to say because didn't we all know this? There was a report that Chris Nolan is unlikely to work with Warner Brothers again. No shit. Like, what's going on? Are you serious? Like, I never thought, did we really think that, like, to me, here's the thing with this Nolan thing. And I always hear like, oh, Nolan, he's talking to these people. Here's what I want from this Nolan thing is, one, I do not expect to hear what's going to happen with Nolan's next film for several years. Like, completely. I do not think we're going to hear, because it takes him forever to write movies. Like, he has to think about time inversion. That at least takes a month. I don't know. But, like, he's going to say, oh, I have a deal with Universal, Disney, whatever, for this movie. That's, like, always how he rolls. So, like, this, to me, it's, like, just them going, like, oh, Nolan's unlikely. Like, I could have told you that. We didn't need this report. Whatever. It's just, like, he's going to go to another studio and do his auteur thing at another studio. That's what he's going to do. We know that's what he's going to do. It's like, why even pretend he's not going to do that? Whatever. So this is kind of an interesting little survey thing. I'm sorry I'm doing, like, sort of kind of these lame, like, oh, this is an interesting fact, but this is sort of, oh, we're almost like, we are like, yeah, we're going to hit these segments early tonight. This is probably going to be a shorter one, unfortunately, because there's just, like, not a ton of news. There's interesting news. It's just, I still like to do shows. Oh, hey, Zane Power says, how are we going to get Dark Knight 4 with Robin now? Did you think you were going to... Oh, man. I love that end part of Dark Knight Rises. Cheers to you, Zane Powers. And cheers to Jeff Jr. again. Why not? Let's do that. No, Nolan from Pizza Party. Him and Warner Brothers don't get along anymore. Yeah, Don't ask him about it. Anyway, so here's an interesting thing with streaming services. I wanted to talk about it. So there's this idea of what's called in the industry, according to the LA Times, which is a newspaper, so there's a possibility it's real, is this idea of churn. Basically what churn is the idea of people who will cancel a service after they basically watched what they want to watch. And the idea is you don't want people to churn, I guess, off a streaming service, because I guess you all learned what churn is. I don't know. So basically, 62% of people who were surveyed about canceling a streaming service, 62% did so to watch a show, and then they canceled the service, basically, directly after. Just like, okay. But yeah. But apparently, it was a dramatic increase of people who basically said they never had done that. It was apparently a 20% increase of people like who before would do that. In this year, it increased, obviously because of coronavirus. Who knows how much that people are admitting they will just sign up for a streaming service, watch a show, and bow out. Only paying a month or so. So that's becoming an increasing problem, and streaming services are trying to find a way to kind of curb the churn, basically. Curb the churn. This is weird. Anyway, sorry. Discount Viscount says, if you don't play video games, then how do you feel qualified to review video game movies? Checkmate. Sorry. I don't know why that made me laugh. Checkmate, elitists. Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know. I don't know why that made me laugh. Cheers to you, Discount Viscount. All right. Then before we get to more... Wait, what? Stop it, computer. All right. Churn Baby Churn. Thank you for that little butterfly. Oh, I didn't see you there. How's it going? I like when I get comments during the stream for other videos. Matt Lucas talks about Party Mosh, says, I was able to find this movie on Tubi TV. It's pretty boring to watch, but the story, it is kind of interesting. The movie felt like I was watching Cannibal Holocaust. This is a Party Mosh. Matthew Lucas comments a lot. I don't know if he's watching right now, but hey, if you are. I'm not allowed to watch the... I think, see, here's the thing, is I think a movie should stand on its own. And the idea of that you have to play a game to enjoy a movie is like not a good sign for that movie. That's like, I think about that with the Sonic OVA, because everyone who loves Sonic games loves the OVA. But like anyone, I still like a lot of Sonic games, but who's not a Sonic obsessed doesn't like it. And to me, that's not like, I mean, you could say like, yes, it does its job with fan service, but a good story should, I don't know, storytelling's so different. And who knows? I'm just giving you my perspective. I do the best I can. He said, atheists? Oh, sorry, Ryan. See, I'm not good at reading. Atheists. Checkmate atheists. What is that? I'm so confused by that. Anyway, thank you, Discount Viscount. Sorry I screwed that up. You need to read the book to understand the film. That's true. Or read more books, probably. So there is a new Paul Verhoeven film. It's called... Because there's this whole thing of like what films people are anticipating for 2021, because that's a thing, I guess. And I actually found that there's a new Paul Verhoeven movie. I did not know there was one, so I'm going to tell you the description because I didn't read until this. There's also the documentary about Several Cows from Andrea Arnold, which everyone was joking was like the sequel to First Cow, which I need to watch First Cow, but because I like Kelly Reichardt a lot. But I actually am sort of excited for that movie. An Andrea Arnold documentary sounds interesting to me. But Paul Verhoeven's new film, it's follow-up to Elle. Paul Verhoeven's next film, Benedita, I think, will tell the story of a 17th century nun who suffers from disturbing religious and erotic visions. She develops a romantic love affair with a fellow nun assigned to help her through the visions, based on a book, and there's sex stuff in it. The writer of the film distanced himself from the project due to the extreme sexual aspects of the film. So if that doesn't increase your anticipation, I don't know what will. That's what the person said who wrote this in the article. But yeah, Paul Verhoeven, who directed RoboCop, Starship Troopers, at least has a new movie out. He also did Basic Instinct and Showgirls. This feels like more it's in the erotic thriller thing, less in the sci-fi satire. He kind of has two auteur things, two lanes basically. He does the sexy time stuff and the, America's fascist thing. You can be horny on Maine and hate the government, both. So now let's do trailers and stuff, and then Obits, basically. So one trailer that I saw, which was a surprise, and it seemed like I'm a big fan of the critically acclaimed, I guess it's a podcast feed, but they're all done by William Bibiani and Whitney Seibold. They're really great critics. But they were tweeting today about and I haven't heard the review of it, of a movie called Psycho Gorman. It looks like a lot of fun. I'm really excited for that. So I'm definitely going to try to see that movie. It was a cool trailer. It's basically like these kids have control of like this like ancient monster and can tell them to do whatever they want. And it looks like a lot of fun. Obviously gory. I don't know what the right age for kids would be, but it looks like a lot of fun. So I'm down for that. Superman and Lois, the trailer, I will, Austin asked me to watch this. So I was like, all right, I will check it out. And I did. And I don't know the CW DC shows like at all. I think I saw the first episode of Supergirl when it was on CBS. So I don't think that counts even. But I think I saw two. That was good for the first two. I don't know. I didn't stick with it. But it seems like a cool concept that like Superman and Lois moved back to Kansas and his kids don't know he's Superman. Like that sounded actually interesting to me. So I don't think I'll like watch it. If it was a movie, I would see that actually. But it was a cool concept. I will give it that. So, I don't know anything. Isn't he like Superman in Supergirl or something? I don't know. I really don't know. These are kind of just side note things as well as trailers. Before we get to that, the King Kong and Godzilla trailer comes out tomorrow, but we had a teaser, the poster and all that looked cool. That's kind of all you can really get from it at this point. Anyway, it's very much selling that this movie will look cool. I just want it to be bright and colorful and stuff like that. So I'm at least a little excited. I'm honestly more excited to watch Godzilla vs. King Kong with my daughter than the original, than to see the new one. But whatever. Master of None season 3 is apparently going to happen on Netflix. It's already was shooting pre-coronavirus. Then they had to stop production, and now they're starting up production now. No one really knew about it till now. The whole Aziz getting canceled thing, that didn't put him in the best light. I don't know if it's necessarily as bad as like all the other people who were canceled. Not that, I don't know. I heard he addressed it. I never watched his comedy special. I did really like certain episodes of Masters of None, particularly the one about Thanksgiving. That one was a really great episode, but I don't know. We'll see. Apparently everyone's come back to work with him again. Supposedly he's grown as a person, but we'll see. I don't know. Yeah. They're doing another Master of None. So if you like that show, I guess it's coming back. I know they were going to take a break between 2 and 3 anyway, but then all that stuff happened, so it sort of changed it all up. Oh, hello, Silico Plus, or Calico Plus. If you haven't fought Nazis, then how do you feel qualified to review a Captain America movie? Checkmate Christians. That's true. I've never really fought Nazis like Captain America. Cheers to you. Oh, Ron Campbell. Oh, that is sad. R.I.P. to Ron Campbell. That stinks. I'll put an F in the chat. There we go. So in other news, Bad Robot has started to hire people for animation executives. Bad Robot obviously has a deal with Warner Brothers, what is going on with Bad Robot and animation. They seem to be building up something. There's been a lot of people reporting on it saying, like, look out for this. Should we look out for this? What's going on with this? Are they going to do something with Warner Brothers? No one's sure what exactly. They're just sort of building up executives at this point. So we might be seeing more from Bad Robot and animation going forward. No one's sure what's going on with that, but I just wanted to bring it up because it might take like 2-3 years to hear anything from this, but it's just something to keep an eye out for. Okay, so this happened last week. A couple weeks ago. Talked about it during the show. Other people who talk about movie news talked about this movie, Run, Hide, Fight. And on the show, I actually said the wrong thing. I said the Daily Mail. It wasn't the Daily Mail. It was the Daily Wire. A lot of movie people recommended this movie and thought it was interesting, to give you context, that it was being distributed by sort of a news site, even though it was a conservative news site, rather than an actual streaming service. And that was a different way. Like, you could see like different, like the LA Times, like New York Times, like a newspaper could say, we're going to distribute this movie to our subscribers, so forth. And it was an interesting development in terms of the age of streaming, which is how most people covered it. It seems like there was a wave of no one knew what the Daily Wire was. And then when they went to kind of sign up and watch the movie, they realized it's like Ben Shapiro's conservative news site. And everyone sort of went, oh shit. So I want to apologize because I didn't know that. And most of them, the critics who covered it, have admitted to getting a contact and getting a screener copy and not paying for it because they would be inundated with conservative newsletters and stuff. So a lot of people are saying, if you want to see Run, Hide, Fight, just wait until it is not on that site anymore. And they have all said they will make sure to post links and republicize it when that happens. But most reviews you're seeing for it are not people who, apparently, from my understanding, did not actually pay for it through that site or support Ben Shapiro. They got screener copies. So that's what's going on with that. That's the whole deal. No one really understood that because I don't think any of these people, as myself, do not really follow Ben Shapiro. So we didn't know that. So anyway, I still think it looks like a cool movie. I have not seen the movie. It looks like something I would definitely watch like in the background while I'm doing something else. But basically that's the deal with that. It seems like a very unintentional thing. It's not like a hidden, like, let's trick you into going to the site. It was more of like, everyone's dumb. And Ryan tried to correct me and solve that problem, and I should have listened to him. So, anyway, it is still an interesting story. I agree with everyone how they covered it. I just think no one knew what that thing was. But I do think we'll see more about that stuff after that. Yeah, I do agree. BoJack Horseman kind of guessed that this would happen, but it is happening. There's all this talk about Hanna-Barbera right now, which is interesting. And finally, Invincible, Robert Kirkman's new show is coming on Amazon Prime on March 26th. All right, so that is all the news that's fit to print. So, here are the obits for this week. David Richardson, who is a writer on the Simpsons episode Homer Loves Flanders, died this past week. I think Homer Loves Flanders was one of the great Simpsons episodes, and it's a sad loss for him. Walter Bernstein, who wrote the film The Front, which is actually a really good movie. There was a Simpsons episode named after it as well, actually. Died. He was 101. He was a blacklisted writer who then wrote a film about being a blacklisted writer, which is a really good movie. Woody Allen does star in it, but he didn't really write it or anything. This other guy did. So you should check that out. Phil Spector died on Sunday. I think you can't really mourn Phil Spector because he's an absolutely horrible person. What he did for music in terms of production and the Wall of Sound is something I've always really liked. I really like Phil. I have the box set and everything. I've never liked him at all as a person. I think the Wall of Sound and the Girl Group stuff is amazing. Listen to that. There are a lot of great talented producers and musicians and everything. I never wanted to put an RIP because it's so conflicted because he murdered a person and he's a horrible human being. But his music was really great. His Christmas album's really wonderful. Just listen to that. Just enjoy that. Don't deal with him as a person. Just, he can be forgotten about. But that music, I think, says a lot. And yes, he invented producing. It's sort of a complicated thing. I don't know how I feel about it, but I do like Phil Spector's, classic 60s stuff quite a bit. I just don't think him as a person. It's like no one really wanted to mourn him, which, don't ignore the music because it's really great. We wouldn't have Pet Sounds without him, actually. But him as a person, I just don't really miss him, to be honest. Yeah. And then Larry King, it was announced today that Larry King had died. Larry King has always been sort of an interesting figure. For the recent thing, Larry, I'm on DuckTales, meme to the Jerry Seinfeld canceled Larry canceled. Yeah, I don't know. I both, liked some of his shows. I both rolled my eyes at him. He was a classic sort of broadcaster in every sense of the word, and a complete, workaholic. Had a radio show and a TV show on CNN back when you could do that. A huge, he was really like Howard Stern said, he was the king of all media. He was one of those guys back when, when you were a king of media, you had a TV show, a radio show, you'd appear in movies. Like, it wasn't just like I have a TikTok and an Instagram. It was like far more reaching than that. And I think, we will continue to see everything he does for a long time. I know he had like a YouTube show, and I saw him interview Markiplier once, which was bizarre. He was definitely a character, and it's weird to even think of CNN without him because he was such a part of that channel. So I don't think you can think of, he was a real legend. He was a real broadcasting legend, and I think he showed you how to handle a lot of these high profile things, even if the high profile people didn't actually really like him that much. So, and it says a lot about someone who's lived from, being a classic broadcaster to being a meme. There's not a lot of people who've ever done that. So Larry, I'm on DuckTales indeed. All right, so I'm going to have 3 segments after this. Wsndavision, Lupo, is it Lupo? Lupo the Butcher, which is from Danny, Antonucci. I'm going to have to watch something while I go to the bathroom so I can say his name right. The creator of Ed, and Eddie. Is it Danny Antonucci? Is that how you say it? And then Pixar Popcorn, and then questions, then we'll be done. Anyway, thank you all for being here tonight. It's very nice to... I'm sure Ryan's going to be like, Jim, you can't say anything right. And that's true. I can't say nothing good right. But... Is it Danny Antonucci, right? Am I saying it right? Can someone tell me? But he, because he did more violent adult stuff, and I thought it'd be talk about his big, his big adult kind of cartoon character before Jim said a name right. I like everyone's like, you said it right. His big, adult character before Ed and Eddie. I thought it'd be a cool segment, so I'm excited about that. Anyway, I'm going to go to the bathroom, but before I do, we're going to look at, do we get it right? Oh, Ace the Wind Rider's Chili Jim fan art. If you want to submit fan art for this, just send it to me on Twitter or some other way if you're not comfortable doing that, and it will show up during the break, because I want to try to do that for shows going forward. I think it'd be a cool way to do it, because a lot of people have some cool art out there. So, all right, I will be right back, and here is the art. Whoop. And I will see you again very shortly. I'll be right back. Cool. Okay. That was Ace the One Rider. Good job. Hold on. Good job, Ace, on doing that. Fade. See, I know how to do things sometimes. Oh, that's a good point. Movie crap art. I would say just like at me, but if you want to do movie crap art as well, that would be cool. But I would say at me just so I know, and I'll try to. Maybe I'll feature 2 next time if they're big enough. I don't know. Anyway, ooh, Zodberg made a Dunkin' Chino thing in the Discord. See, that's a reason to join the Discord. You can learn about that stuff. Wait, which one's the real Jim? Nice, not plausible. All right, movie crap fart. Wow, Ransom film. You disrespected the beautiful name of movie crap. Anyway, all right. So let's get to these segments because we have a lot of them, and I want to be able to get to everything basically. Yes, some water. And some Red Bull. Breakfast of Champions. All right. So, let's get into this. So, I will try not to talk about spoilers, but I don't think there's anything too spoilery anyway, but I will try not to. So if you don't want to know any spoilers, I'll do Wanda at the beginning in the chat and then Vision at the end. So if you want to avoid that, or if you're watching this later, use the time codes. All right, so WandaVision episode. All right, so now I'm going to talk about WandaVision episode 3. This one is taking a distinct turn from the first 2, which were obviously more based on the Dick Van Dyke sort of 50s, more so early 60s sitcoms. This is more based on 70s sitcoms, particularly the Brady Bunch with the stairs and all that stuff. They kind of keep the same house but change it a little bit. And then the Partridge Family in terms of the intro logo. In this episode, you find out Wanda, you find out at the end of the last of 2 that she is pregnant. And then in this, she turns out to be very pregnant. And basically she goes from being pregnant to giving birth in the course of an episode. And you sort of go through a typical, I guess you could say, pregnancy kind of sitcom plot, but hypercharged. That's the one thing, this show's really good at using kind of your typical sitcom stuff. And Buster, do you want to be on? Okay, I'll let you. Hold on. I gotta see what I'm doing. Do you want to? Okay. Let's put Buster on to interrupt WandaVision. How you doing, man? What do you think of WandaVision? Look right there. You can look. Can you see? All right. It's nice hanging out with you. You're my buddy. Him and I have bonded a lot more during quarantine, I have to say. All right, that was worth interrupting, right? Now I have hairs on my face, so it kind of doesn't work out. Ow. Damn it. All right. Anyway. Yeah, then I get I should figure out a way to get all the hairs off me. But anyway, so, we see this it's really good at mixing kind of a traditional sitcom plot with sort of surrealism and choosing those misunderstanding things and play off of kind of arty, strange ways. And this one does it very well in this supercharged kind of thing. But here's the thing about this show. I'm sort of liking it less as it goes on. And I think a lot of that is, what's the point of this? And I don't think the show ever makes me understand that. I get that, like, through the commercials, she's in some sort of thing, whether it's like a bath or like some strange hitosis thing. But when I look at the show, I think of a Community episode with Daniel Pudi, who, with Abed. I don't know why I said the Community episode with Abed, where everything becomes stop motion, and it makes sense. Well, Buster is a hairy cat. It makes sense because Community, Abed, and he likes media, and what he consumes a lot of media, so it sort of makes a semblance of sense, basically. But then when you watch WandaVision, where is this coming from? Like, what is this saying about her and Vision's relationship? Like, what's the point of the whole thing? And I think the show is the most compelling when it admits it's in this facade, but the reasons for this facade don't really. See you later, Super Drive Minion. It doesn't really like connect to me, and I don't think it connects to the character. Now, I understand we don't know much about Wanda or Scarlet Witch other than the very little we've gotten throughout the show, and obviously, like, they've changed her, like, she doesn't have that accent and everything like this, but it's just like so it just, to me, like, doesn't really connect in a lot of ways, because you're not really seeing a real point to what they're doing with it. They're not saying anything really about sitcoms. They're not saying anything about the relationship or the perception of relationships through these sitcoms. And I think it's like showing the weakness of the show. It's this, like, what's the point of all this? And I feel like we're just like delving around in this like mystery sort of nonsense until they give us some sort of a point, which I don't think we'll be able to explain all this stuff. And maybe they'll try to reverse engineer it or something like that, where they'll mention how she likes sitcoms this whole time. But it just plays as kind of like this weird thing that they wanted to do that doesn't actually fit the characters in a universe that's supposed to fit the characters. So it's just awkward and doesn't really connect. And I think it's like trying to say something about characters who we don't really know that much about. So it's like a comment on something that you can't comment on. It's like, I get that she wants to be happy or she wants to be with Vision, but why isn't that just in a fantasy? Why is that in a sitcom? And I continue to think that while I watch the show. And I know people watch sitcoms very excited, and there's a lot of fandom of things that are excited. It's just the writing in the show doesn't really connect to what they're doing with it. I don't understand what they're saying with it. It just feels like they're just doing it to be stylized and weird. They don't have a real point and a perspective behind it. And or a perspective that makes any sort of sense. Like, I get that it's through Elizabeth Olsen's thing, but like, why? Like, is this supposed to be like in Star Trek's Generations, where like they have this beautiful like fantasy and you just fall in love with it, and you just can't not be, you're just kind of enveloped in it. But then it's like, why would Wanda, the Scarlet Witch, like, think about it seriously, why would the Scarlet Witch that we've seen in the Avengers movies want to be in this fantasy? And I think that's just something that like just doesn't really work, and the show isn't good at explaining it. It's like, think of like if you saw Pleasantville, but like you never see the part in the 90s beforehand. How is that going to connect? And I just keep thinking, I think people like it. I think people like deciphering it, but I think the writing just doesn't really understand why it's doing all these things. And I keep seeing them being very faithful to sitcoms in a certain regard and doing sort of interesting things with it, but it's not making any sort of a statement on why they're doing all these things. So it's sort of like a very empty kind of experience that is mainly to be like this mysterious thing that Scarlet Witch is in, but it's just playing up mystery, but like, why have it? And I guess when we eventually get to that point, this will maybe make me, eat my words, but I feel like this whole like spin mystery box thing, it just feels exhausting, and it just feels like someone like churning their wheels until they write themselves into a corner and sort of have to explain all their nonsense. But it's not like that nonsense becomes anything of real substance. It just kind of stays stylized nonsense. And maybe people like that. Maybe they enjoy that. Maybe that's fine. But as of right now with WandaVision, I just feel like we're just stuck in this whole stasis of this whole thing, and they don't exactly understand what they're doing with it. Anyway, Everyone's saying 80s will be Full House. There's no knowledge that it will be, and she might have nixed that. That's what I think. One of my notes is for WandaVision is ladies don't get pregnant like that. All right, I will put, which is true. I'm going to put Vision, so now you know I'm done. All right. So next up, Lupo the Butcher. So what is Lupo the Butcher? It is basically Buster, like, I forget how hairy that cat is. Very hairy. Very hairy. Wait, that Red Bull's dead. Sorry, I need it. So, Lupo the Butcher. So, Danny Antonucci is the creator of Ed, Edd and Eddy. But before he did that, he mainly made adult cartoons. In fact, Ed, Edd and Eddy was a sort of a bet or a challenge for him to make a kid show because they didn't think he could. Because he felt like there really wasn't a lot of animation for adults and he wanted to make stuff for an adult audience. And in the 80s, in terms of America, that's sort of true. There really wasn't a lot. So Lupo the Butcher was a short he made while he's working with Marv Newland's company. When he was working with Marv Newland, who's the guy who directed Godzilla vs. Bambi, as well as did the Tales from the Far Side thing I reviewed recently. But this was basically Danny Antonucci's first solo thing. Even though he'd worked in animation for a while, he felt like he was this was he's referred to this in interviews. I've seen him say this is sort of the thing that started it all. And so Lupo the Butcher, you see this butcher, you go in, you have this cool shot where you go through sort of the front door of the butcher shop, which is actually really well animated. And you see the butcher's cutting some meat. First he cuts it, falls to the floor. He curses quite a lot. Then he cuts it again and he slips on it and gets really mad. And then he tries to cut it and cuts off his finger. He's screaming. He's really upset that happens. Then his arm falls off. Then his other arm falls off. And then his whole body completely falls apart. Like he cut himself several times, which he did. And then the head of Lupo the Butcher is just sort of criticizing. The credits as it plays because he's just a severed head. Supposedly, and I had read from a bunch of people that this kind of got tape traded around a lot. This came out in 1987, and a lot of people had seen it and were kind of fans of it in underground film scenes and like at film screenings and stuff like this. It's got a lot of play actually, and helped Danny Antonucci quite a bit. In fact, he licensed this character out. It did MTV station IDs, which I know Danny Antonucci made other ones, but he made one with Lupo the Butcher, as well as he made 2 Converse ads. One where he's basically like, I think the tagline is "What the shoe," which sounds very much like he's cursing, but he's just talking about shoes. The first one is he gets mad. No, hold on. The first one is he made 2 and they're both in his reel, unless he made another one that he's not proud of and isn't in his reel that's online at least, where he tries to cut. It's a piece of shoe. He says, "You piece of shoe," not "what the shoe." "You piece of shoe" is a better curse thing anyway. Sorry, it's "you piece of shoe." But at first he cuts one of the Converses with a knife because they have shorter tops or whatever, and then the other one, a shoe comes back with a knife to get him, basically. And it was fairly successful with Lupo the Butcher because this played at Spike and Mike's Animation Festival. He would, play this around. Most people had seen it, thought it was like, people have called it the South Park kind of tape trading thing of its day. Everyone really liked this crazy short. And he actually, and this was part of International Rocket Ship Limited, which was Marv Newland's company, I believe. I might go back to more of their stuff. They're sort of interesting. But Lupo is not something he actually has given up on. There was another short he was considering called Meet the Family, which was unfinished. You hear he's going to go back to. He never really has. It's never been finished. But the latest in terms of Lupo is he said that his animation company will be making a Lupo the Butcher show with Netflix. So we might be hearing more about Lupo coming up. I don't know. It sounds like he sort of wants to get back into it. It's an interesting short. It's based on his Italian American heritage, and he based it on his father and his uncle. I sort of like it as like just a quick little short. When you'd go to, if you've ever seen the Spike and Mike's thing, I saw it like twice or anything like that. Then like things like this play very well with this. Now it just plays as like a thing you could watch on Twitter, but at the time, like things like this would be like really crazy and really interesting and like just feel like something you weren't supposed to watch. And this has that in it. It just feels like I can't believe this fell apart. It has like a real kind of sense of slapstick to it, but also has a sense of surrealism. You get sort of a sense of what would happen. You get sort of the idea of what you would get with Ed, Edd and Eddy later, but it shows you like what kind of animation would be hyped and cool at the time in 1987, which Lupo the Butcher really was. It also shows you what Danny Antonucci really was like pre Ed, Edd and Eddy, which was a lot crazier and a lot weirder. It feels like he had like his real punk rock crazy past, and I think Lupo the Butcher did that really well, as well as be able to take advantage of the alternative kind of liquid television TV moment and be able to, have Converse ads and have a station ID, and they wanted to use the counterculture, and I think Lupo the Butcher was definitely something that that they wanted from that. And that shows you like how big tape trading, that's as viral as you could get, and he got a lot from that, and I'm happy for him. And I think Lupo the Butcher is cool. Like I enjoyed watching all the things I could from him. He's kind of like a fun, a New York Italian kind of butcher kind of character, and I wouldn't mind watching a show from. I don't know, a show might be too much, but I wouldn't mind watching another station ID or a short from Lupo the Butcher. It's kind of a fun, gross, gory kind of character, but I'm sort of into it. I think it's kind of cool. So I saw there was a super chat there from Sinram. How's it going? He said, been very busy at work. Sorry, I've missed the show tonight. I'm sorry that you did miss the show tonight, Sinram. And cheers to you. Thank you for being here for a little bit. I hope work gets a little better for you. Cheers to you. Everyone subscribe to Sinram. He makes cool reviews, I will say. Okay. Sorry I loaded up these segments tonight. I just wanted to, I don't know. I will try to answer a lot of questions. So Pixar Popcorn. This came out on Disney Plus. It is approximately like 22 minutes total from these like about 10 or so shorts. They're basically very quick shorts of various Pixar characters. You get Coco, Finding Nemo, a couple of Toy Story, Cars, a kind of a mood piece from Soul, and I think that's everything. The Incredibles, did I say that? The Incredibles as well. You mostly don't get actual voice acting in it. It's sort of like the characters do sort of a thing. You might hear some oh kind of things, but for the most part, other than the two with Bunny and Ducky, which are played by Key and Peele, you don't really get voices in that. You just get like, it sounds like they had O's and ums and breathing noises from various actors in a folder somewhere, and they use that. It sort of actually reminds me of Arctic Friends, the Arctic Dog shorts, but it's by Pixar, so it works a little better. Most of them like are fine. Like Toy Story has one that's just like Buzz dancing. It's like okay, it's like fine, whatever. The Cars ones I wasn't a fan of. The Dory Finding, which they call, is sort of like whatever. A lot of these shorts are sort of forgettable. They're really digestible things. You could probably watch them on their phone. They're not too incredible. The only ones I actually really liked was the Bunny and Ducky ones. I thought those were kind of fun. Those were a little worth it. You get some new Key and Peele material. Why not? I had fun with it for the 2 minutes. I didn't really think about it much past then. And then there's a Soul one, which is sort of a mood piece, which I thought was chill. Like I watched these with my daughter Sophie, and I noticed when we watched these together, it sort of like calmed her down a bit, which I thought was nice. And I liked it just being like a kind of calm like it's a calm mood piece. It's like sort of an arty kind of, they just use some footage from the thing, has some nice music over it. A lot of footage we'd seen before in the movie, some we hadn't. Just played really well and then was done. I was like, that I actually really liked. I wouldn't mind if you did that with all of them. The rest of them, the Coco one was fine. The Incredibles one, I like the score, but it's sort of them just doing chores or getting a cookie. The thing with these is they're just, the thing with my main thing with these, one, like, why isn't Wall-E in here? It feels like something that would work really well with Wall-E of all the characters in the Pixar canon. Like, why aren't you just doing that? The other thing is these are just so forgettable. Like, why even have them? Like, I don't really get, like, most of them I don't understand the purpose, to be honest. Like, I like the Toy Story shorts. I don't mind if they make shorts of their characters, but these are so quick. It's like, did they just, like, were they so hungry for content? Is this really worth it? Is this worth the views? Like, this is, like, below lamp life for a lot of it. It's just, like, so nothing for most of it. Like, I'm fine with the Bunny and Ducky. I'm fine with the Soul one. I like the art, the kind of idea of those. But the rest, and I don't like how to watch Play All, you have to, like, go down all the episodes and find the bottom one to hit Play All, which that's just sort of annoying. So if you really like Pixar and you want, like, 22 minutes of a bunch of characters doing stuff and not talking other than Key and Peele which is probably a total screen time of 3 minutes, 50 seconds or something, and hear Trent Reznor music for 2 minutes, and the rest is just, like, seeing, the Cars in Cars parallel park or do a dance thing. If that sounds appealing to you, then fine. But if it's fine, you'll have a good time, but you won't remember it. You're probably going to forget it. It's sort of something that Disney, like, was like, hey, we'll spend some money and do these things, and you can watch them on your phone. They probably would work well for Quibi, but in terms of Pixar, it's sort of like, if this is, like, what they're doing, that's cool, but I wish they would have done something a little more interesting with it. And maybe with the Soul thing they did, maybe with the Bunny and Ducky thing, that's a little more exciting. But the rest is just sort of much like just much better animated Arctic Friends, and I don't know if that really is worth them spending the time and energy making those rather than making some interesting Spark shorts, which probably would have been a lot more interesting if we're all being honest with ourselves. I think Pixar has a lot of resources that they can do amazing things with, and if this is what they're going to do with it, it feels a little like a wasted opportunity, especially if you're not going to use Wall-E. Anyway, 10-ton chum short when? Oh my god. Wait, does that mean we get the King Kong trailer at midnight? Is that true, Marley? Kong. Does it? Are we getting it that early? I'll just search Kong vs. Godzilla. Oh, it's just someone doing a short, like, dorky things. Yeah, it doesn't say. Oh, there's a different one with Millie Bobby Brown. Oh, yeah, she's in those. I wonder when we're getting that. Anyway, let's not worry about that because this is almost over. They just said Sunday. That's true, Marley. They did. All right, so time for questions. I have two, Patreon questions. I'm going to write question. Oh, okay. Ransom Film gets the first question, I guess. But you also have a Patreon question, so maybe I won't do yours first. So, oh, wait. If Marley is here. Hold on. There we go. Is he happy? No, I wore it wrong. There we go. All right, anyway. I have two Patreon questions. Where are we? I'm messing this up. All right. I have two Patreon questions. One, first from Austin. Question for Movie Crap. How would you do a Warrior King crossover with modern cartoons like Adventure Time, Regular Show, Steven Universe, and BoJack Horseman? What would it be like? What would the plots be? I think he could just appear in Adventure Time, then appear in Regular Show. In Adventure Time, he could have a thing with Finn. In Regular Show, he could, mess up something Mordecai and Rigby were doing. In Steven Universe, I think he would mess with, Beach City or whatever that town is, destroy stuff there, and the gems have to stop him. And then in BoJack, he would just be like the actor who plays the Warrior King, and then they have to retire. I hope I answered that right. Question from Ransan Film said, howdy. Thanks. Top tier content. See, Marley said it. Sorry. How fast would you get kidney failure if you bought the 20 fluid ounce Red Bulls for the stream? Probably pretty fast. I only drink the sugar frees and when I do the stream. I don't drink them at any other times in my life ever. I try not to. All right, so from Sunspot Mill, I'll do you first. Do you think Paul Blart will have the greatest movie trilogy ever? Yes, definitely. Definitely. Ransom Phil says, should I ask the Bible if I should do an honest critic on El Mariachi or Sin City since it has all the answers? I would say do one on El Mariachi. I would say do both, man. I think you have a lot to say about Rodriguez, to my understanding, right? Okay, this is when I get lost in my own chat. Okay, there we go. Cornbread asks, what do you think of my idea of having modern day Macaulay Culkin replacing Donald Trump in Home Alone 2? I like that. I think they might just cut it out. I don't think they're going to replace it, but I like that the internet's so into this replacing idea. Zane Powers, on Twitter, I kept seeing people cry out in outrage that Johnny Depp wouldn't play Wonka in the movie, saying that he was so great and iconic, apparently. Thoughts on that? I'm also not a big Wonka person, so like my opinion on this whole thing is a little silly, but I don't think Warner Brothers would be asking him back at this point. I didn't think he was that good, but again, it's like I was not into the Burton reimagining period, so I don't think I'm the best person to ask. So if you're upset about that, I apologize. Anyone who's watching this. Why did they stop making Sparks from Nathaniel Foga? To my understanding, they didn't put as much alcohol in it. I was thinking I should try to look, and I don't know if I would drink one at the beginning of the show. Maybe the end of the show once would be kind of cool. I've thought about it, but I have not looked or seen it anywhere. Major Mekazawa, what are some of your favorite depictions of the Grim Reaper in fictional pieces of media? I'd probably say any silent film one, because they usually give him sort of like a horse and buggy kind of thing, and I think that's interesting to me. So silent film versions I usually like more. I think there was a Faust one in the Faust that was good. Yeah, so Medela Butterfly asks, wasn't Brady Bunch going to do a reunion with all the kids coming back and their kids? They don't have a reunion, but I heard this on I know it's the guy's Brett White was a guest on a other person's YouTube channel. I watched some of the live stream today while I was doing work. But he mentioned that there's a reality show where the Brady Bunch kids buy the house that was the exterior of the Brady Bunch house in the show. They bought the house and they were going to make the interior like the set, basically. And he was saying that's actually a good watch with Wsndavision. So I haven't checked it out. Maybe I will. Dana Delaney says, remember that 60s movie, The Producers? If so, what do you think? Oh, I like this. The Producers is a classic. What's not to like about The Producers? Jordan Slothlow, what are some of your favorite Ethan Hawke movies? I actually think Predestination, which I don't think I gave a great review to. I've heard a lot about like there should be more trans time travel movies, and that's actually a great one. He's good in that, actually. I would also say I think he's good in Training Day because he's very good at playing off Denzel. Anytime he gets to play off Denzel, he like very much like he realized he did a good interview. He's like, you can't go big, you have to go small. You have to like know how to play it, and he does it fairly perfectly. I'd say that. I guess the Before movies, which I haven't really seen that much of, and I need to. Boyhood. He's great in Boyhood. Boyhood was a fine movie. Everyone got a little too weird about it. Oscar things sort of ruin movies, but it's like a fine like little thing. I didn't think it was the greatest thing ever. I just like enjoy it though. What's something movie companies foolishly will never stop making? What's something movie companies foolishly will never stop making the money ever? Probably merchandise or like stuff like that. Probably I don't know. Probably just like taking the wrong lessons from something. That's like always what they do. Danny Delaney, favorite sketch show? It's probably inadvertently SNL, but if we're not counting SNL, like I liked early Mad TV, I like Key and Peele. I'd say those. I like Chappelle Show a lot when it was on. I don't know how well it holds up. I've seen some of them don't as well as I thought they would do. Zane Powers, what would a Dark Knight 4 with Robin be like? I imagine that would be like sub tier Inception, so like Tenet. Toon J 723, where'd you go? Damn it. Toon J. Hold on. Sorry. What is your preferred pillow? Oh man. Toon J 723. Which 80s, 90s, 2000s teen sitcom would you pick for Wsndavision parody? Okay. I'll do this. Cheers. Actually go Seinfeld or Roseanne on 80s, 90s, because I think that's a good show despite Roseanne Arnold bar adjectiveless Roseanne. 2000s, a couple people were saying Malcolm in the Middle, Arrested Development. I think you would have to go single cam. In 2010s, I think you'd do The Office, Modern Family, like a documentary type thing. That's what I think you would have to do that. Whether it would be The Office or Modern Family, that would be up to you. Austin says, so what was the Savage Dragons part? I'm not Eric Larson. You have to ask him. Embla T, which studio do you think would pluck in Chris Nolan? I think Sony is going to pluck up a lot of Warner Brothers talent because they were able to get Tarantino, and Warner Brothers got very close and he didn't do it because Sony will offer you stuff that Warner's won't, and I think Nolan will go to Sony. That's my prediction right now, but we'll see because things are changing quite rapidly, aren't they? Cornbread, I'm running out of Cantina Wolfman questions. Any recommendations for questions I should ask? You should ask me what will the Cantina Wolfman's Lego Star Wars game be like? Bloxy Oxenwinkle, what do you want out of Paul Blart 3? Will line up with a different Pink Floyd album like the second one in Dark Side of the Moon. It will match up with probably what's it, Saucer Full of Secrets or whatever, probably perfectly. The 60s one, whatever was Secrets, I don't know. Dana Delaney, favorite Kenny death in South Park, probably the one from the movie. I can't remember too many now. Maybe the first one. I remember the first episode very well because I watched it a lot. Ace the Wind Rider, who would be the best guest star you could have on Movie Crap? I don't know. Probably like another critic or something. Maybe do one with Izzy. That would be cool. Something like that. I should figure out the guest thing. I never gotten around to that. What do you think of Wilkins Coffee? Wait a minute. What's Wilkins Coffee? I'm going to look this up. Wilkins Coffee. I didn't know about this. Oh, I should know about this because I've seen the ads in the museum. I've never had it, but Muppets do it, so it must be good. Okay. Let's do some people who don't get questions a lot. Sorry. Who would you cast as Paul Blart if Kevin James wasn't available? Whoa, not plausible. Whoa. That guy from Mad TV who's in the Three Stooges, maybe? Or Seth Rogen. Didn't he do a movie? He did Observe and Report, so why not? Black Saxon, what's your preferred pillow? My own, I guess. How is weather usually magical Brooklyn? It's okay. It's, cold. It's January. Sunspot Mill, what are your thoughts about Epic Games developing an animated Gilgamesh movie? Good luck. I didn't put that because I don't have enough opinions on that, but good luck. I hear a lot of people announcing movie divisions. We'll see if a lot of people do. We'll see. If that happens, Emblet P, do you miss 3D? No, not really. I mean, I can see in 3D now. Dana Lay, how weird was Classically Chupo? Pretty weird. Sorry if I just try to get different people. Favorite long anime? Maybe Dragon Ball. Why do you have to hate Norm for just wanting to be himself? I guess I just hate Norm. I don't know. And then let's do a Ransom film with someone else, I guess. Tenet was just pretentious Riley, that's great. Ransom film says final Tarantino movie will be. I do have thoughts on this. He has said he's writing a book that is about a guy who comes back from World War II and he sees some European films before he comes back to America and tries to see Hollywood films and doesn't like them because of what he saw in Europe. And I think a movie viewer being dissatisfied with Hollywood would be an actual great way to close out his filmography. When I heard that concept, I've thought about that a lot. Like someone, it would be a combination of Marty, which is a great movie. It's actually the only film to win the Palme d'Or in Best Picture. Only American film, since Parasite did it as well recently. And come with some cinephile stuff. I think that would be the perfect one. Cornbread, when will Alpha appear in WandaVision? I think that they said they won't do cameos from people. Anyway, one last one, then I should go because I'm getting a little tired. How do you feel about Boyhood taking 12 years to make? I actually think it helps. I think it's kind of cool. It's kind of a cool idea. I think it's like a nifty kind of concept. I actually think it's kind of cool. I don't really hate it as much as like everyone seems to think like, oh, it's all about that gimmick. Yes, but like there's a lot you can say about the gimmick. And yes, the Up series does it better. So everyone, Oh, I like Medello's Butterfly about rewatching the Defunctland thing. It's a good idea. Anyway, I should go. It has been a show, as it always is. I want to thank everyone for being here tonight, another Saturday night, talking about dumb movie news and stuff. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Yeah, I will be back next Saturday. Sorry, content this week was weird, but I'm optimistic about this week. We'll get Promising Young Woman. I'm working on a new Every Show Ever about NBC Saturday morning, which I'm actually really excited about. It's turned out way better. And obviously all these segments will probably come out throughout the week as well. So, and movie review vote and all that good stuff. So good night, good luck. I don't know. And, and all that good stuff. Thank you all for being here. It's been great. Enjoy the Godzilla vs. Kong trailer. We'll talk about it next week, and subscribe if you would like to. See you next time, guys.